Well, there's the Australian side there. Number 11, Oscar Crino. He's actually, I saw this lad playing for the professional youth team in Mexico, and as I was saying there, Billy, what I really was very impressed with their dedication, their fitness, very athletic indeed. They'll run all night, and I think he was an example of that there.
Well, I think if you look through the side, Archie, whatever else, there's a lot of experience in the side. I know they've got a young lad like Crino playing there, but there's a whole lot of experience. Now, I'm not entirely certain where all these caps will gain, but nevertheless, it's not a young side, it's an experienced side, and if they go over the first few minutes, then perhaps they'll settle better than we think. But at the end of the day, I still do feel that we're at Hampden Park here, and I think we can cope with any nation in the world here.
Well, that's a very confident Billy McNeill. I think he's getting no blood surging through the veins again. Lost nothing of his Scottiness, having been down in Manchester that brief time. But Scotland will be playing from left to right. There isn't much of a wind tonight, by the way, so I don't think there's any particular advantage. Referee is from Czechoslovakia, Wojciech Krzysztof, very experienced referee. Beside, just in front of him there, Frank McAvennie. Reputation for being very firm and without anticipating too much. The Australians have come here with a reputation for being very physical. But we shall find out in the next 90 minutes. And that press box there is crammed with pressmen from all over the world and a big contingent from Australia. They are watching this game live in the early hours of the morning, and off Scotland go at the beginning of this very significant match. Strachan, McAvennie, and there is a first free kick, literally after 9 seconds. Touch there by MacPherson. Then he has had a very good game for Scotland against Wales in Cardiff. Well, I think we're trying to find Mitchell there. The Australians trying to break very quickly there through Joe Watson, the Scot. Easily picked up. Right, he's tackled there by Mitchell. Swept away there by Yankos. Beautiful tackle by Sinas. Now Gordon Strachan lying wide on the right. Dougie. Slight hesitation. Wants it back. Almost gets it. The Australians tend to be very defensive, of course. Andy Roxburgh's observation of them was that they played virtually with 5 men at the back and a sweeper in behind them when the occasion demanded, and that apparently was very often indeed. There's McLeish. McAvennie. There's tackle from the back again. The referee didn't like that. Malthus wanted somebody to come much nearer him. But back there by Murphy. Picked up by Cooper. That's a very good tackle. That's Dave Mitchell, the ex-Glasgow Rangers player. There's Davie Mitchell, played for about 18 months with Rangers. Came all the way back to sign for them, didn't quite take it off. Zenith. Just a little too fine there with that pass by Aiken. Now Gordon Strachan. Run there by McAvennie. Seemed to use a hand, indeed he did. Kind of any complaint, Frank McAvennie's. We have seen him in Scotland score so many goals. Not all that many people have seen him down in England now, because after suffering from a television shortage, so he's a bit of an unknown quantity. Very deep down there by Nicol. Kenny Dalglish in position for it, Whitson to hold it back. Yes, there's a free kick again, and it was very tight in Kenny Dalglish. It's almost as if you didn't tackle him, Billy, there, he gripped him.
Well, I think we've seen the Australian attitude right at the start, actually. They're going to get stuck in, they're going to try and upset our players, and obviously this is a stage where we've got to keep our composure.
Free kick by Souness. It's a touch forward, and Willie Miller had come up. Willie Miller, who will occasionally come forward like that. Barely 5 minutes gone, and as Billy said, we've seen a pattern of not just defensive organisation, but attitude by the Australians. It's maybe a major characteristic in this game. Great header by McLeish. Strachan, bad mistake. Mitchell, who once scored against Alec McLeish for Rangers. Oh, the last pass didn't matter all that much. Here's Souness. Aiken, McAvennie, Dalglish. Oh, dear. That's ridiculous. Number 5, David Ratcliffe, English-born, crooked, and quite likely. Now, David Ratcliffe is an Englishman, and apparently he played very well against Trevor Francis. I wonder if he played like that, Billy.
Well, I think he's carrying out instructions. He's going to go and rattle, trying to upset Kenny. Certainly a very, very severe tackle, but we've got to credit the referee with taking firm action immediately. I think he's recognised the fact that if he lets his sailors away with too much early in the game, there's going to be all sorts of problems.
Very fine praise for the referee at this early stage of the match. Nicol. McAvennie. Fights hard for it. Not a bad ball. Feels for a penalty. It's a goal kick. Loud shout for a penalty kick there. As Scotland mounted, I think, the really first serious challenge in that goal. Now, it was McAvennie's persistence that played off here. No, I think he stretched out, Billy. Probably not the penalty.
I think it's one of these decisions, Archie, would always be looking for one. I think more importantly, Willie Miller missed a very good chance to put us ahead early in the game.
Well, there's hesitance in that Australian defence. Totally unsure by McAvennie. Free kick. Well, 5 free kicks already to Scotland, and a booking for the Australians. Not sure what Strachan meant by that when there was nobody at the near post. Out come the Australians. Forward goes Souness, and he's offside. Oh, just flicked it away there. Now, even against a very well-organised defence, if you keep at them like that and rattle them, they will snap. I think that certainly is what Scotland must continue to try to do. Just 1 or 2 little signs there of panic creeping into the Australian defence. McAvennie. That's a corner kick, and that's a very good run. And McAvennie's bothering them, Billy.
Yes, I think one of the satisfactory things at the moment, Archie, Frank McAvennie looks as though he's never been anywhere else but the international scene. His confidence is high and he's prepared to take people on.
Dougie. Cooper, brilliant play. Again, now shouts for the penalty, but it doesn't come. And not a single person was in the Scottish half bar Jim Leighton there. Tremendous pressure by Scotland. There's big Alec McLeish. Beautiful play by Scotland. Strachan a little bit impetuous. There's a touch forward, McAvennie. He gets the corner, and he is confident. Well, McAvennie's top of dynasty at the moment. He's in there fighting for everything. Where wide Aiken was trying to go up there, almost fighting each other for it. There's a neat little pass through. Nicol is onside. Kenny's there, and right into the goalkeeper's hand. There were so many players there. He was finding it difficult to see any chink in that armour. It didn't come, and very unfortunate in this nice run forward there by Nicol, neatly taken down by Dougie, and the Australians were fortunate to survive that one. Billy.
Yeah, already Archie will start to getting down the flanks. We've created a couple of chances. We'll start to convert these very soon, I would think.
That's the scoreline with 10 minutes gone. Aiken. Cooper. Beautiful play by Cooper. Oh, they're putting it anywhere, and that was Ken Oscar Trino. Swept it over. Just a massive yellow jerseys in there. One almost indistinguishable from another. Cooper. No free kick that time. And that, I think, may have been deflected by David Cooper. I think all the same that Scotland, having had that intense pressure and not scored, they've got to remain very calm, not panic. To Crino. Up there. Rugby. In goes Gordon Strachan, almost reading a man's mind. Swept out here to Graham Jennings. Man is a legal searcher by profession. That's a free kick. Taken up by Ratcliffe. Here's Nicol. Vision play cleared there by Yankos. Big form of Steve O'Connor. Davidson. First concerted move we've seen by the Australians. That was Watson who went down. Far side Mitchell. Easily tackled by Aiken. I think Joe Watson took a heavy one from Graham Souness. There's Dougie. McAvennie going through the middle. And pulled. Pulled deliberately by a corner. Very quickly taken. Dougie. Strachan. And that despairing tackle coming from the long legs of Charlie Yankus, the sweeper. Strachan. Here's Cooper. Straight out to Souness. Round the edge, onside. Willie Miller. Oh, the final ball had to be better than that one. And it's Davie Mitchell on his own. Oh, great run by Mitchell. Strong, forthright run by Mitchell. Very cool play. Souness gets away with it now. Aiken. Here's McAvennie. Just a little too much in that.
One thing Archie was illustrated there, you know, Dave Mitchell's obviously got a lot of confidence and a fair bit of pace, and he almost caught us by surprise there. They stretched us a little bit at the back. We've got to be careful, you know, we've got to go and obviously commit them. We've got to just ensure that we don't leave any trapdoors open at the back.
Once again a throw to Australia. There's Davie Mitchell, recognised I'm sure by Rangers supporters. At the back is Yankus. On to Kenny. Strachan. With McAvennie. Go to Scotland. McNeill again doing that very quick overlap. Here's Strachan. Goal kick. Strachan maybe just struggling a little to find his touch in this game, Billy.
Well, I think it's early, Archie, obviously. I think what we've got to do is try and just calm ourselves in midfield, and we can feed balls out to Gordon on the right and Davie Cooper on the left. I think we'll stretch the sails so much that they'll begin to wonder what's happening to them. At the moment, at times they tend to be just a little bit disorganised in what their approach is going to be.
Nice touch on there by Davie Mitchell, very good in the air. That's Watson. Ball is out. McAvennie. Yes, it's going to be like this all night. They're very crude, to say the least, the way they got in the tackle. And I think Billy hinted early on that Scotland must not respond stupidly to all this. Keep away from it all, keep out of trouble. It's right round the back, and there's a sweeper, Yankus. Cooper. Aiken. Nicol. Nearby sort of pass there by Nicol. There he is, Steve Nicol, who varies his play between midfield and full-back. Strachan easily beaten there by the full-back. Good tackle by Aiken. McAvennie. Away he goes. Souness. Strachan. Now can he take his player on? Almost. Good auxiliary defence there by Pino coming in. They packed the area very well indeed, but the first little flicker of the little man's genius there. Almost wrong-footed, three of them in a very tight space. Cooper with a corner. Nobody there in the middle for Scotland. Here's Strachan. Cooper. Sinners with the shot. Brilliantly controlled. He really drilled that in beautifully. Excellent balance, not the easiest ball to take. Neatly passed it aside and fired in. Here's Dougie. Almost gets it through to Cooper, and again they pack the defence. And if you're sitting watching us and wondering if there's going to be any change in pattern, I doubt very much if there is. Ooh, the goalkeeper not too happy with that one. It's got to be Scotland pounding away at this goal. And there is Terry Greedy, the 29-year-old school teacher from Melbourne. Very experienced. Strachan with the kick. Cooper. Has another deflection, another corner kick. This time I think the police was up and complaining that a hand had been used. Now the big man will have to be very good in the penalty area because he has towering Australian opponents in defence. Yet again, nobody challenging for that. Dougie screaming for it, and Nicol a little bit slow. On to Dougie again, the corner conceded by Crino. And every time that Kenny Dougie goes into that penalty area, he not only has his marker, but Crino is coming up behind him as well. It's all so untidy. And offside, the Australians organised themselves exceptionally well there, came out very quickly. Billy.
Yeah, the thing is, Archie, obviously they're now starting to settle down to just a little bit of a pattern. They've had a few let-offs at the back. Interesting one, I felt we created the shot that Graham Souness had out of nothing, and that augurs obviously well for the rest of the game. The thing that I'm not sure about was the goalkeeper, who looked very, very nervous. Pulled off a good save, may just have helped him a bit.
Well, there's Mitchell, found a surprising gap and runs it over, but he did get a gap there. I think most of the aggressively creative play, Billy, has come on the left there for Scotland. Atrocious kick out by the goalkeeper. Yeah. Jim Leighton, annoyed with himself.
I think at the moment, Archie, we've really still got to settle a bit. We're just maybe just a little bit too hurry-scurry at the moment, and we've not given ourselves a chance to develop play too much.
He can just got away with it. Here's Cooper. Davidson hassling back after him. Dougie. McAvennie, Souness, Nicol. The cross has got to be an effective one, it isn't. Oh, he hasn't got the grips of the game either, Nicol. McLeish. Aiken. Almost got a second chance, McAvennie. Still the pressure goes on. Cross, not an accurate one. Needed a bit more loft than that. And well judged. Fullback Alan Davidson, who was with Nottingham Forest. McAvennie again, up comes Stella in Strachan. Nice run by Strachan. Just tried a little bit too much. Here's Mitchell. Again, he gets away from McLeish. Stronger David Mitchell than the one I remember. This is number 9, Kosmina. He's the lad who scored an excellent goal against New Zealand and played for Arsenal. Ken Murphy. And that was touched by Alec McLeish. There goes Aiken. Great run by Aiken. Superb play. Douglas. McAvennie. Oh, he couldn't turn. That's all he wanted to do, just to get past Ratcliffe there. And that was a marvellously exciting move by Scotland, Billy.
Yeah, magnificent run right from his own penalty area with Roy Aitken. Created a great chance for us there.
Cooper gets a corner. Sinis. Well, that's a bad ball by Cooper. Far too low. Free kick. The Australians, as Billy has been suggesting, are settling down now. Some very good defensive performances, quite clearly by Yankos, Ratcliffe, McCorner in particular. Brought down there by Murphy, useful player. That's how useful he is. And that's the first real shot at goal, and that was a very good move there by Murphy. Ex-Dundee United, by the way. He was freed by Jim McLean. There he is running through, Billy.
Archie, once or twice they've started some moves, and Davie Mitchell in particular has been a bit prominent up front, and they've created just little bits of problem that we've got to sort out. We've got to stand on them and not give them any hope of getting anything from this game at all.
Douglas. Nicol just overdid it. Whoop. And he was taking Nicol with him into the stand, I think. The man who doesn't take prisoners. Douglas. Obstruction. Yankos complaining about that. Wrong side. It's a raise for the goalkeeper. He's out of his area. Intelligent move there by Malthus. He had to go forward himself. Anybody else had stayed there, they would certainly have been offside. Sinis. Strachan. Neat little turn again, and that's a dreadful ball, though. Lacking his usual poise. Billy?
At the moment, Archie, I still think we're trying to pace the game up a bit. We want an early goal, certainly. I think we should be more content playing it out. See if we can entice them away from the defensive shell. We've obviously got to try and use the wide players. David Cooper in particular, got Strachan when he breaks wide. We've got to introduce him to the game, see if we can stretch the sailings a bit.
Sinis. Here's Aiken. Well pass. No. Ball well out. I think he played there. Watson it was. McAvennie. Yes, throw to Australia. Super. McAvennie neatly played round by the Australians. That's very good play by them. The ball has gone over, I think, but the whistle has gone in any case, and then they're mixing it with the leash. Aiken got involved as well. Now, Mr. Christoph is annoyed with one of the Australians, but the play goes on. Beautifully touched out to Malpass. Here's McLeish. Long legs in again of Jennings. Swept back there by Joe Watson, and that very quality that we were talking about of familiarity amongst the Australians is really paying off at this stage. They know each other, they've played so often together. They have a very good understanding in defence. It's a wide ball. Cooked out. Jankos did that. Here's Souness. Souness overdid it. Cooper. Danger of a team pressing all the time. They begin to tangle themselves. Oh, that's an ambitious ball. Cooper got the pick up. Souness totally missing that. Jankos coming forward. And there's McAvennie. And he really has shown great spirit tonight. Aiken's in the way, and the free kick is given onto the Bleach. Here's Cooper. And the referee is, I think, going to book somebody. Number 6. O'Connor. Steve O'Connor. He, in fact, is another school teacher like me. And Aiken is being booked as well. And I think somebody said something naughty to the referee. So, free kick. Just over half an hour gone. Strachan easily cleared. Cooper just getting through Dougie. It was offside in any case. The flag was up. There's a lovely little run there by Cooper, and Kenny Dalglish was about a couple of yards offside. Billy.
Well, I'll tell you something, Archie, that these Australians are brave enough. That was a very, very brave and courageous effort with the goalkeeper there, and I wouldn't like to run into him in a dark alley, I don't think.
I wouldn't even like to see him in the distance in a dark alley, though. Well, there's nobody there for Scotland. Jankos. Yes. No need to complain about that. It's a free kick. Billy?
Yeah, this is the time, Archie. I think that, you know, Roy Aitken's been booked. Certainly the lad had a hold of him, and Roy had a little go back at him. Alan McLeish here just got a bit annoyed with the referee. We've got to curb these things just now and forget about arguing with the referee, forget about getting involved physically and getting on with playing the game. That's very, very important. If we start arguing and get physically involved, then we're going to be the losers.
Taken by Jankos, and he lets fly, but it's sailing away from goal. Jankos, 16 caps for his country. That is a very, very solid, if dour-looking player, reliable, and that is the whole basis of this Australian performance in defence, reliability. McAvennie, delicate header. Here's Strachan to Dougie. Well tackled that time, Jankos. Ooh, dangerous one by the goalkeeper. Here's Aiken. But his side really in trouble. Feels there for hands. Referee just waves it away. McAvennie hassling. Rather easily beaten eventually by Davidson. There's Miller. Strachan. Well, it's not a bad ball. Brilliantly cleared again by Jankos. I mean, he's always seems to be there. Willie Miller going on the left. The pass not strong enough. Oh, they're causing difficulties going for the ball at that, Kosmina. Miller. There's McLeish. Still fighting heavily for that, and that was a free kick. That's another extremely poor kick out by Jim Leighton. Throw to Australia. Well, I must say, Dave Mitchell looks a vastly improved player from the player who played for Rangers, Billy.
I think he's come here with a lot to prove, Archie. You know, he obviously left Rangers under just a little bit of a cloud, and he's back here in Glasgow, and he's going to show, he said, I'll show these punters that I can play a bit. And to be fair to him, he's caused us one or two problems.
Austin is brilliantly engineering that from midfield. Horace Malthus. I thought he was tackled late, but nevertheless the pass was never getting there. Only 8 minutes to half time. Well, the Czech referee is going to have a word with somebody. He certainly gestured at one of the Australian players. Didn't come forward. Here's Strachan. Well, look at that run again. Dreadful ball though. McLeish to Strachan. Dougie. Oh no. I think he had the heels clipped. Mark Hugh McAvennie was making a brilliant run down the middle. Here's Nicol. Strachan. Oh, just past. Roy Aiken, a great effort. Very well connected. Good run in the, but the very presence of the Australians putting them up again. Good covering, in fact, Billy.
Well, the big lad Yanko at the back is impressed, Archie. He's not the most elegant footballer I've ever seen, but he's effective, and he's a big, strong lad, and he gets himself in there where the action is. Right beyond McLeish, and here's Willie Miller.
McNeill. McAvennie. Dougie. Slightly breaking down. Kenny knows it. McNeill. Dougie. Just a little too fine with that header. Just a little too much again for Dougie. Got into the right position. Free kick again, yes. I must say the Czechs, the referee and the linesman have kept a very firm grip on this game. So near post and McAvennie rushing forward to that. The ploy there was to touch it on as others rushed in at the angle.
What worries me just a little bit at this stage, Archie, is that we started very well, we created a chance or two, but a front through and Kennedy Dalglish and Frank McAvennie, they're having to leave the centre of the pitch and go and look for the ball. It worries me just a little bit that we're not making as much progress as I would have liked to have seen down the flanks. They're playing it tight, they've got the sweeper in at the back there, and we've really got to try and stretch them wide to get behind them and see if we can draw those big central defenders out of position.
Strachan simply put it down for Mitchell. Dougie. Strachan, 5 minutes to have time, still no scoring, and there's another dreadful foul. Oh. Referee may play on. He still can't get it over. They're not giving Scotland any second chances in any situation. Cooper, a little over anxious. Cooper, here's a chance, can't put it away. Mutfin then again. Goal kick. And they are finding it really very difficult to break this defence now.
Well, they're now growing in confidence, Archie. That, you know, as I say, they're not the most elegant players, but they're working very hard. Now, unfortunately for us, two good chances have broken inside the box, and they've both broken to Willie Miller. It's amazing how that sometimes happens. You look for it to break to one of your good quality forwards, and it breaks to Willie, and he's missed both chances in actual fact.
McAvennie does that very well, picked it up. McAvennie just a bit too hard, I think. Can he get it? Yes, just. And nobody was coming up for that. Indeed, I think it may have swerved out of play. It's a goal kick. Well, that's the Scottish bench. I can't see Alec Ferguson on it at the moment, as he's sitting on the stand. Strachan. Oh. Mitchell's playing out of his skin for Australia. Murphy. Strachan ought to have read that one, and Willie Miller puts it away. That was very good play by Australia. Murphy. McAvennie. Here's Strachan, who's made no large imprint on his game. Malpas. To Cooper. Run by Malpas. Gets a corner. And by my watch, we're a couple of minutes away from the half-time whistle. Corner to Scotland. Well, I didn't think I would ever tonight hear myself saying it would be so vital to get a goal at this stage. That's exactly what I'm saying. Forward goes Sinis. He's onside. Cooper. Again, a very bad cross. I don't know what's happened to that left foot of his tonight. Normally deadly with it. Dalglish. Aiken, still crowded there. Cooper. Sinis. Here's McNeill. Steve McNeill. Great run by McNeill, and he gets another corner. Well, all that play, half the length of the field, but really no penetration in the penalty area. Cannot break this down. It's a constant rubbing against this defence. Dalglish to take this now. Little realising that time is running away in this first half. That's a touch back, and it's another Australian head that gets it. Corner this time. There goes the half-time whistle, and there's little doubt that these Australians go off tonight very proud of themselves, having gone 45 minutes and not just played a game of football, but delivered a resounding lesson, not just to the Scottish players, but to the Scottish supporters in the terracings, that they are far from pushovers, and indeed an extremely well-organised team in defence, but a courageous team playing out of the skins for the country, and Scotland know it is going to be extremely difficult for them, Billy.
Well, I think we've got to be honest and be fair, Archie. They came here as real severe underdogs. They've left the field at half-time with a host of new admirers, because they've worked very, very hard to prevent Scotland from getting real settled and clear-cut chances, and they've created one or two little half chances themselves. Whatever else about them, they're fit, they're determined, and at the moment they look very, very organised. We need a little break inside our box. We need a little touch of genius. We need a little touch of inspiration from somewhere at this moment.
Well, so much for the people who said they were, you know, from the Churches League. Far from that. I have been completely impressed by their attitude. That's extremely important at any level. And I wonder if Dougie Donnelly with Billy Bingham is as impressed as I've been.
Impressed and worried, Archie. I don't know about you, Billy, but I came in tonight honestly quite expecting a comfortable Scottish win. I really couldn't see us failing to win by 3 or 4 goals. I'm beginning to get a bit worried, are you?
Well, I had reservations from the start because I told you about them in Australia. But they're defending quite well. But it's how you break down that defence is important. Now, looking at that match for the first half, people were saying there was 2 wingers, there was Strachan and Cooper. But they never really got to the byline. Only once did Strachan get to the byline, and Aiken produced a header, which was quite close. Now, if they're going to feed balls in from diagonal positions rather than a byline, and they're feeding balls into Kenny, that's not really coming off because Kenny's got 2 men on him all the time. So if you're going to try and get crosses in from what I call deep positions near the byline, then you've got to get another midfielder in. Aiken has appeared in there. Miller has appeared occasionally. Because if Kenny's coming out for the short one, you're only leaving McAvennie with another 2 defenders. So really you've got to get another midfielder coming in to what I call heading positions. The quality of the crosses haven't been all that good to encourage you that you might get a header. The quality of the corners haven't been all that good, except the last one which was flicked on. That's right. Those are the small things that are important that can win you games. For example, if you get 2 good corners, and Scotland have quite a lot, and you get 2 goals, smashing, that sets you up. But the corners haven't been good, the crosses haven't been all that good. Leading up play is good. Aiken's playing marvellously from his side. But I feel like Cooper and Strachan aren't getting there often enough. And maybe with the fullbacks getting there too, you'll have to get those crosses in. and more people have to appear in the box.
Right. So really what we're talking about is the quality of the final parting with the ball almost. We seem to be getting the wide positions, but it's getting the far post ball that might get the defenders turning in a bit.
Well, as I
wide.
said, you're getting to wide positions and then you're feeding a short one into Kenny. And that's all right as an alternative, but if you're doing it all the time, they're expecting that.
That's right. And he's having to turn out against
right.
two men every time.
Occasionally the early cross is very incisive, and if you get a midfielder coming in like Aiken was there, and incidentally, the three chances have fallen really to Aiken and Miller twice.
That's right. It's all defenders,
That's right.
isn't it? We should be picking those up at the edge
Yes.
of the box, and we are getting a second bite. Let's see some of the incidents from that first half then, with Scotland, I think, actually showing anxiety virtually for the whole of the 45 minutes. Now, this is an incident early on in the match. In fact, the first real shot Scotland had. Now, here's Steve Nicol getting to the byline here. Now, that is a good ball. That's the kind of ball Billy Bingham's talking about. Beautifully chested down, and the keeper maybe a bit lucky there, Billy.
Yes, I think Kenny was terribly unlucky because it looked like there was a deflection that fortuitously fell into the goalkeeper's hand.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, that's a good example of what we want to see.
Well, that was a first-class cross.
Right. Let's move on then, and Scotland pressing all the time, and really it has to be said that Australia defending in tremendous depth. I mean, they were back all the time. Here's Frank McAvennie, who started very, very well, I thought, with bags of confidence, and perhaps just fell away a little bit. Graham Souness here, good ball out onto the wing. Now again, Strachan shimmies inside. Maybe would have done better to have gone for the line than trying to come inside, Billy.
Well, there's three men there, and it's very difficult to get through when there's three men. There's the opponent, then one behind that, and one behind that again. I mean, it's very difficult for him. He's looking for to dribble his way through, maybe get past two, but the third man was catching him.
A word about Frank McAvennie, actually, because he did start enormously well.
I thought
didn't he?
very, very bright start for Frank. He moved about well, he moved into space, he linked quite well with Kenny for a quarter of an hour, and then they spluttered a wee bit after a quarter of an hour. I felt they went out of it a little bit, simply because maybe they weren't getting the service that perhaps they needed.
Now here's the shot by Graham Souness. Again, good
Yes.
work by Strachan. Laid back beautifully.
Yes, well, it's a distance shot, and really the goalkeeper should get those, to be
Yes.
quite frank with you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'd be wishing that you're shooting from a distance all the time.
Right. Again, though, he didn't hold it, did he? I mean, he got his body behind it
No,
well.
I think you've got to follow in every shot. I mean, there was some Scottish player following in, but he held it at the end.
Right. Well, let's see the one-ish shot, I think, that Australia had in the whole of the first half. And it was the Exton D United player, Murphy, who came through from midfield and got in a shot, which didn't really worry Jim Leighton, but it was always just to serve as a reminder that they could break, and what a disaster it might be if Australia were to get a goal. Here's the shot from Murphy, and Jim Leighton shepherding it past his post, and a smile and a shake of the head. They're really not been seen as an attacking force.
No, but I think Murphy is quite a talented player. I've seen him play, and I'm not surprised that he made that run. But I think Mitchell has shown quite well at times, and he's caused McNeill a little problem or two down the flanks.
I said that for me, Scotland seemed to be showing anxiety for the whole of that first half. Would you agree with that? We never seem to have actually settled in.
Well, it might be your anxiety. I think that they've controlled the whole of the first half. You can ask no more than the players to control it. But it's the execution of how you finish it off that matters. And that finishing bit has been the bit that's been just wrong for them. They've controlled it at the back. There's been the odd little break. They broke up the left side. They broke the right side. The two backs have come. Miller's come. You can ask no more than that. But the quality of the balls that are going in, that's the important thing this half. If those quality balls go in, I think there's a better chance of Scotland scoring.
That's right. We did get a couple of chances earlier. We didn't get the breaks from them. Maybe it would have been a completely different game if Scotland had got a goal from one of those breaks early on.
Well, I think the one that where actually Kenny's shot was deflected, that was the best one from the Nichols centre, where he chested it down, was drilling it into goal, it hit somebody's leg and bounced into the goalkeeper's hand. That's the sort of break you need.
As an international manager, Billy, at this stage in a game that Scotland must be looking to win by at least a couple of goals, would you now be looking at substitutions, or would you give that 11, let's say, another 10, 15
Well,
minutes?
you've got to be very careful with injuries, because you can deplete your forces, you know, if you get a couple of injuries. But I would have said that I would leave it for about 15 minutes to see how it goes, and then get the subs ready to warm up the ones that you want.
Right. Charlie Yankos, the Australian sweeper, has been very much in evidence. He's been a very impressive sweeper, in fact, very strong. There's a good example here of the good positional sense of there he is. I mean, there's no frills about that, Billy. He's in, clears it away, doesn't mind giving away the corner at all.
That's right. He's just filling in that space behind the four, and he's doing it very well because he's picking up all the loose balls. And that's why I say Scotland have to get people in that area. extra people, because if Kenny's coming out for the short ball, you've only got McAvennie. You've got to have a midfielder coming in to join in to get a chance.
And we've been unlucky, as you said, because Willie Miller has had a couple of chances falling to him. And
yes, I think Billy McNeill made the remark that unfortunately it fell to the wrong person with respect to Willie. But I didn't call the second effort wasn't really a chance, because a lot of bodies in the road, but the first one was a fair chance.
Right. As a manager, again, I mean, what was Alex Ferguson got to say to players? I mean, can you say you've been unlucky, you've got to keep pegging away?
Well, again, I think he's got to say, well, you're unlucky, you're controlling the game, keep your cool when you get into those good positions, get the quality balls in, be patient still, it'll come if you get the quality balls in, and if we get people in to follow the quality balls, meaning that we get more bodies in the box, when those quality balls are coming in, you have a better chance of scoring.
Right. Let's see for the last item, the last incident rather, before we go back to Hampden, and again it was perhaps Scotland's best chance, the Roy Aitken header, and again this point we keep coming back to getting to the byline, getting the cross in, turning the defence, and Gordon Strachan, the good deep cross this time. And good brave header by Aitken, Billy.
Well, that's the midfield player getting in, the point I was making, and he was unlucky, and it could have been a goal.
Right. So we look ahead to a second half with all sorts of anxieties for Scotland, and we didn't actually ask you at any stage, Billy, what you would consider to be the lead we need to take to Melbourne for the second
Well, I
half.
certainly would go with 2 goals. I would feel happy going with 2 goals. The more the merrier, of course, but 2 goals I think would be comfortable.
Right. 1-0, you'd be a bit concerned?
Yes, a little bit.
Yes, well, I think we all would. The way things are going, we'd be quite grateful for that first one, and we'll take it from there. Let's hope they come in the second half. Let's go back live to Hampden and rejoin Billy McNeill with Archie MacPherson.
Thank you very much indeed, Dougie. Talking about anxiety, we had or people around us had to pass by the half-time tie because they'd been eating their nails all during that first half. It's quite incredible attention. The people just underneath me in the stand looking slightly more worried than I think they would have thought earlier in the evening. I don't think anybody who has seen the Australians or heard about them thought that they would be total pushovers, but nevertheless I would have myself have expected Scotland to have been at least 1 up by half-time. That is not to be. I must say I'm certainly impressed with the way Frank McAvennie has come into the international scene, which is never easy, particularly when you are expected to do well, and showed a relish and an anticipation that was very refreshing. But as Billy Bingham was saying, it's just a pity that somehow or other they've not been able to finish off some excellent control that they've had, getting Frank into a position where he can be so lethal. It may yet come. Still 45 minutes to go, as I've said so often to you, Billy McNeill.
Well, I think it's the 45 minutes we've come to appreciate that Australia are here. They've settled in. They've done what every underdog does, Archie. They've worked hard in the game. They've had their little share of breaks, and now their confidence is growing. One of the problems, I think, that they'll bed themselves down at the back there. They've got 3 big central defenders that are not prepared to get dragged out too easily. I honestly feel we've got to try and slow the tempo of the game down just a bit and try and pull them apart, try and pull them away from there. Fine, we want to get our players into the byline, and that's understandable, that's true, but we want to try and drag some of these big central defenders away from that middle, because even in that grave header from Roy Aitken, he still was under fierce competition from one of those centre-backs.
And it's one of these very well known features of World Cup football now, Billy, that you sometimes get a group of players who have no noted stars at all, well drilled, well organised, and indeed with, you know, Billy Bingham himself has taken people who are hardly superstars, welded them together, and have done amazingly well in these circumstances. And the Australians, not in the same class as Northern Ireland, but the Australians again proving how organisation and drilling can help.
Well, I think we've got to compliment the organisation. Frank Archie has been around for a long, long time. I remember him from our European Cup days, in actual fact, Archie. So he's been around, and he's obviously got the Yugoslavian attitude. He's got good disciplines about his team at the moment. They're enjoying what's happening now. They know they're underdogs, but whatever else about them will settle to that fact, and they're saying, well, when we leave Hampden Park, people will respect us just a bit differently.
Well, the Australians have nothing to be ashamed of. Indeed, I think they should be immensely satisfied with themselves with that performance in the first half. And not quite sure what the Australians are. Oh yes, they're waiting for, yeah, Dave Mitchell it was, late coming on. They only came on with the 10 men. No substitutions that we've noted. And so the Australians prepare to kick off, and I would imagine that they will fight as hard in the second half as they did in the first. There's the edginess of the Australians raring to get going. Frank McAvennie was in the background, and Davie Cooper puts that down. Well, a slack ball forward by Malpas, but he picks it up. And no run forward, but a very late tackle indeed. Oh dear, dear, that was really worth the booking. It was Aiken who got it. I think he must have been picked off. He must have been targeted. That was Ken Murphy, the Scot. So free kick to Scotland. Our Australian team in there. Oh, just off the line. McAvennie's up. Totally missed. Strachan, no strength in that whatsoever.
Well, that was a chance, Archie. That was exactly the start we wanted to this half. I felt that the Australians got just a little bit cocky here, and they got caught out with their own cockiness there. And we created a good chance from that. A good, well-taken free kick. Got ourselves in there, and it was only that from maybe putting one in the net.
Oh, Aiken deceived by the wind. Cooper. Aiken, Dougie. There's this sweeper we've been talking about, Yankos. Miller. Nicol. Oh, he's in a very unsettled night, Nicol. And really Scotland have to do everything very smartly, in a disciplined manner. That doesn't set an example at all. McLeish allowing Mitchell to get to that again. Well, the Scottish team are getting a support now from the Terracings. Here's Aiken. That was slack. Jennings flipping it away. Souness. Beautifully measured pass. MacPherson, he gets a throw, I think, yes. It is for Scotland. Souness looking for somebody in the middle, allowing the defender to come towards him, block it off. Ball is out of play. And I don't think Alec McLeish need to say that to the linesman. He's got to get himself unnecessarily into trouble. Kept in by Malpas to Davie Cooper. Seemed to take his eye off that as Davidson picked it up. Strachan, free kick again. Quite cynical foul. And that was very slack play by Scotland in midfield. Billy.
I think we've got to accept that, Archie. You know, we're looking for an example from Graham Souness. It was just very, very casual there, and one of the problems now is that the fans are just going to get on top of the Scottish team if they don't start producing a bit of football.
Here comes Cooper. Dougie. There's free kick again, the challenge from the back. And he really is getting protection from the referee, and I think rightly. So, free kick to Scotland. 4 minutes into the second half. Souness with Cooper. Well, that is solid for it. No offside. It is against linesman on that far side. The Australians came out there. It was like the charge of the Light Brigade as he came out of that penalty area.
You know, Archie, reputations are very much at stake in this game, and this is one of the things that worries me just about Scotland. Maybe the edges are starting to fray just a little bit.
Here's MacPherson. McNeill, Cooper. Trying to move it wide to Cooper, get Cooper into the game, take this defence on. McNeill again. Strachan just played off it. Cooper, beautiful pass to McNeill. I think Kenny's labouring slightly now. Mitchell's round, McNeill again. That was unassisted. Here's Strachan. McNeill. Run by Strachan. Number 5, Ratcliffe, coming across to pick that one up. Ratcliffe, as I said, made his reputation by playing against Trevor Francis and Australia, playing extremely well against him. McNeill, just a bit too slow again. McNeill, throw to Scotland. Still goes on. There goes Jennings. And a booking there, I think, for Crino. Yes, Oscar Crino.
Scandalous challenge, Archie, really. I don't know why he's protesting. It reminds me of, he's got an Argentinian name, he reminds me of one or two of those that we played against that famous racing club game.
Souness. Well, I think without panicking, I think some sense of urgency should be shown now in midfield. Really fighting hard for Scotland. Now, Gordon Strachan. Oh, there's a bit of space for Cooper. McAvennie just touched it too hard. Not a bad move by McAvennie. I think he did the right thing. Trying to wrong foot the defence by going the opposite direction. Players coming in behind him.
One of the few times actually we got a good quality ball out to Davie Cooper. He got the opportunity to take it, and he sent in an interesting cross here, which at the end of the day came to nothing. But really, the first time for a long, long time that we've had a good, comfortable ball out to him.
Excellent clearance again there, and that's a bad ball by Hinton. Cooper picks it up though. Free kick. This is quite cynical now. I think they've got away with so much of that in their kind of football that they're perhaps rather puzzled at this standard of refereeing.
Well, I don't think we can fault the referee, actually. He's been prepared to do his job. He's been prepared to be severe when it's counted, and certainly he's had a lot of opportunities of pulling them up.
Almost 9 minutes gone, free kick to Scotland again. Little bit of uncertainty. Tries to sneak it through. This disciplined and very tough Australian defence played quite excellently. Kenny just off it slightly. No, he's struggling. Yes, that's a free kick.
just one or two little instances actually, our frustrations are beginning to show that it's essential now we keep our composure, we keep playing, we keep our discipline, we try and stretch and we don't get involved in any physical contact with them at all.
Well, that was Frank Archie, and he was looking very contented, I must say. Aiken. Well, that was worthy of a booking. However, the play goes on. They're fighting very hard, the Australians, sometimes literally. This is McNeill. And again, swept away. They have everybody in that penalty area bar David Mitchell. Oh, Aiken brushed aside. Should be picked up by MacPherson, and he's got to play it simple and straight. McAvennie, yes, that will be a free kick again for Scotland. He was very subtly fouled as he tried to go through there. Nice razor-sharp move there by McAvennie. Look at that, that was deliberate. Now this is a very interesting position. Scotland have got some excellent free kickers in this team. Referee trying to get the line back. There it is, maybe triple, 1-0, a brilliant free kick. Hamden erupts, the break has come, that is a roar not of ecstasy but mixed with relief as well. I doubt very much if you could get a better free kick than that. Billy.
Archie, magnificent free kick. To be honest, it's justified because the foul on Frank McAvennie just immediately before it justified something to penalise the Australians very, very hard. And what a magnificent free kick from Davie Cooper to do that.
Well, I've been admiring the Australians quite clearly for their attitude and their spirit, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be football first, hasn't it? And in that respect, any objective watcher of this game would have to be on Scotland's side. They are trying to play football. Well, it was just under 12 minutes gone there, Billy. There's Alec Ferguson. He'll be much more relieved now. And I think this is maybe, you know, one of these moments in a game which is totally transformed as a result of a piece of brilliance.
Well, I think we needed inspiration, Archie. We certainly got it in that free kick. Let's hope that we can take it from there in a play and maybe start to put one or two past them. It'll be an interesting test of character for the Australians as well. They've fought for so long, things have gone their way, now they've got to do something else about getting something back.
That's Murphy. Watson. Well, Sinners really show them how to play under pressure, elegantly caressing that ball across the field there to Nicol. Strachan. Here's Malchus. Beautiful reverse pass. English. He'll try the shot. That was brilliant play. That was more like Kenny. Now, at his best like that, even though it's a very tight defence, he can wrong foot people well, and he does put a lot of curl in the ball. There's a touchdown, McAvennie. He's done it. It's there, the second one, brilliantly. Oh, yes. Well, people in West Ham, you've been watching that all season. You're getting the first look of him on television. Scoring a goal like that. What about it? Scotland are now 2 up. 14 minutes of their second half gone. And look at McAvennie, class, perfectly cool, incisive. The Australians now looking slightly bedraggled. Billy.
Archie, we look for inspiration, we asked for it, we got it there. What a magnificent piece of finish by Frank McAvennie. Lovely touch on from Kenny, lovely composure from Frank, and there it is 2-0. Looking an awful lot more comfortable now.
There goes McAvennie, he won't get that. And I must say, Billy, when he played up here for St Mirren, I didn't see the likenesses to Dennis Law, but there's just a sudden likeness to Law there, isn't there?
Well, I think the finish was a la Dennis Law, to be honest with you, Archie. It's lovely to see a striker do that in his first international. He looked confident at the start. He's now got a little bit of produce at the end of it. What a lovely finish.
McAvennie. Strachan. Here's Cooper. There's Dougie, Scotland stroking it about beautifully. MacPherson running over it. Free kick. Aiken. Put up by Watson. Douglas. Aiken fighting hard for that. There's Cooper. And the free kick goes again. Well, we should have a computer up here for the number of free kicks that have been recorded. Malpas opens it up. Nicol. With that, is that a corner? No, he just got to it. Well, he played that out well. That was good football by the Australians. That wasn't. Down to Scotland. Here's McAvennie. Cooper. They got the free kick for that. Well, the Australians only conceded 2 goals in their entire section. Oh, Douglas took his eye off it. Well meant for Cooper. Now Australia on the break. That's very tight indeed. Moffey. McAvennie charging after it. That's the scoreline. Almost 20 minutes of this second half gone. Strachan, brilliantly done. Oh, 2 ups. Well, I don't think Australia will get up the idea of playing defensively, Billy, but this will open them, and the scoreline itself must open them up a bit. Here's Dougie. Here's Cooper. Beautifully back, Malphus. Aiken, no strength in it. Must be no, just off the line. The goalkeeper quite unnerved there. Strachan. Referee waves play on. That's a corner kick. Now, if Scotland could hit this defence again, Billy, I think they could crumble a little.
Well, the thing is, Archie, at the moment we're looking very, very comfortable for the tie, and we're playing well now. The confidence is growing, all the anxiety has disappeared, and we'll look as though we're capable of scoring at any time.
Beautifully chipped to the side. Willie Miller. Now, need to be race likely. Well, we're having a substitution now. Here's Dougie. That's Paticus. About to come on, Paticus. Not quite sure who they'll take off. It's the little Scot, Joe Watson, whose granny is here to see him tonight, by the way, the O'Donnell family. Joe Watson actually played here at Hampden Park for Forfar against Queen's Park. This is his second game. And off he goes, and Paticus is on. Billy.
Yeah, this is a young midfield player that they've introduced through the youth ranks, Archie. Apparently he's got a lot of promise, and I suppose it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to this atmosphere now.
Nice neat touch there by McAvennie. Willie Miller. No, too fine. Well read there again by O'Connor. Paticus. McAvennie. McNeill, plenty time to bring that down. Sonny Strachan is there. Rather loose ball by McNeill. Well, the Australians were groggy, and Scotland certainly would had hit them very hard, but now they're beginning to gather their composure. Play a little bit again. Souness beautifully out. Strachan. Oh, Dougie did that superbly well. He has Cooper. And he has Malphus. There's McAvennie almost there, but cooked away there by O'Connor. Dougie. Oh. Wild tackle again. This time by Alan Davidson. Freed by Nottingham Forest. It's a free kick to Scotland. Close up there of the Australian defenders. Very tough defence indeed. That's Cooper. Souness is back. There's Dougie. Well, I thought Dougie was in an offside position myself. Referee allowed that to go. The linesman didn't put his flag up.
I think Kenny was temporarily resting there, Archie, you know, just recovering his strength a bit after that last challenge.
"20 minutes of the game left. McAvennie. Strachan. I don't think Steve Nicol knew quite what to do with that. He was very tight on the touchline. Nice cocktail by Davie Cooper. Fed out there to McAvennie. Gets another corner. As Billy Bingham was saying at half-time, this is something Scotland really ought to be effective with, Billy.
Yeah, well, there was good indication in the second half anyway, Archie, that Kenny and Frank McAvennie are going to form a useful partnership.
Sinis. Dougie. Almost there. Oh, the goalkeeper didn't look too happy about that either. Letting play on, feels by the Scottish players. Well, there's Alec Ferguson. I think we're going to have a substitution. Looks like Graham Sharp to me. Graham Sharp limbering up. Higgins seemed to challenge fairly enough for it. And off will come Kenny. One more cap for his 100th. On comes Graham Sharp. Kenny, as usual, has played his heart out for his country. There he is, Graham Sharp. Played for Scotland in Iceland and in Wales. Australia get a corner kick. First corner of the game for Australia. Now they have very big men in there. This will be taken by Ken Murphy. One of the big ones in. Well, they did get the head to it, but there was no balance eventually, and really no danger.
Interesting substitution, Archie, because obviously they're getting tired now. They worked hard, and particularly at the back. We've now brought on a fresh centre forward. It'll be interesting to see what sort of partnership he can quickly strike up with Frank McAvennie.
Sinis, McAvennie, collision by two Australian players. Just a bit too hard. I think Davie Cooper was slightly slow off the mark all the same. Good intentions. It's not sharp enough. Towering ball by Leighton. Well, 2 of them on sharp that time. .15 minutes to go. Still 2-0 for Scotland. Malpas, Sinis. Strachan fought very well for that. No. Much too fine with it. Katikas. Safely enough by him. McAvennie, Sinis. Once again, McNeill missing the tackle. He's not had a particularly safe game, McNeill. Panic in that Scottish defence. And that's very... May have been a deflection. Yes, it was. Second corner to Australia. And that first corner was very interesting because he did get up well for it, Billy.
Yes, well, they've got a lot of big lads, actually, and they're going to battle in there. To be fair to them, to be fair to Australia, they've come back. They've had a real blow in the chin, and they're coming back and they're standing up and trying to make a game of it.
Way by Cooper. McAvennie's there. Good run forward by McLeish. Good break by the defender. Oh, a dreadful play. Mitchell. And I think the referee's waving play on. Cooper. There's Malpas. Scotland, for some odd reason, seem to be bogged down at the moment. Nicol. Sharp. Free kick against Sharp. Aiken toes it away. Steve Nicol trying to bore his way through. Quickly taken. Strachan. A slack ball. Davie Cooper. Strachan can't quite get there. Again, very tight, disciplined defence. I think McLeish quite satisfied with pushing that over, tying it over. Katikas. Oh, Jim Leighton was asking for that. Katikas, Aiken is there. The ball still in play, hooked away by Malpas. Graham Sharp. Oh, well picked off there by O'Connor. Now the shot, fighting back. Here's Kraken, McAvennie, David Cooper. McAvennie was crying for that. Here's Kraken, gets the corner, and I don't think David Cooper saw McAvennie lying unmarked on the left side of the penalty area. Exactly 10 minutes left, according to my watch. A lot of curl in that. The goalkeeper gets protection from the referee. The whistle goes. The rain lashing down. Not the kind of weather they get in Sydney and Melbourne and places like that. Picked up well there by Kuzmina. And they fought hard in the second half after that two-goal onslaught by Scotland, or these two excellent goals that Scotland scored. McAvennie. Rugby. Willie Miller. Well, an Australian commentator beside me almost went apoplectic at that, claiming a penalty kick. I don't think it exactly was. To blame Willie Miller on the very fact that Malthus looked so static to start off with. Tadikas. There's Miller. Oh, the Australians are controlling midfield at the moment. Cooper. Sharp can't get that. And the Australians at this stage of the game ought to have been under pressure, I would have thought, Billy.
Yeah, I think we analyse the game, Archie. They've defended well other than those two goals that we scored, and they were really magnificent goals. But to be honest, it's not been a sparkling performance for Scotland. It's been a workmanlike performance. It's been hard work all night, but we're stuck with it. At the moment, we've got the result we wanted.
Strachan. There's a header, just pass. Great shot. I think the deflection. Scotland get the corner, as I think, from this move there by Strachan. And we're getting, I think, a substitution. Yes, we are. Strachan coming off. About 6 minutes left, and Bett comes on. Well, nobody there for it. Down towards Souness. Picked up on his very useful player, Murphy. Keeps possession well, and that's a useful ball. And back by McLeish. Oh, Scotland at the moment losing out in this area. They're keeping possession. And keeping it well. Here's McLeish. Cooper. surface. McAvennie gets a touch. Sharp. Cooper. There's Bet. McAvennie! Missing an eight practically. Oh, dear oh dear. His legs seem to turn to lead. Offside. That was a bad miss, Billy.
Well, that was the one we wanted, Archie. That would have killed the tie forever for me. I still think at 2-0 it's enough to see us through. But having said that, that third one would have killed the tie entirely.
Well, there he is. Just came up in a rather awkward fashion for it. Always looks easy from Hero. Comes from a team called, romantically, Heidelberg United. Not much of a romantic himself, for a mountaineer. Substitutions here with Robert Dunn coming on. Steve O'Connor coming off. Bet. Souness with 3 minutes left. McNeill. Well, as the free-running, overlapping fullback that we would like to have seen, he's been something of a disappointment tonight. Like that, for example. Much too late and slow. Souness. Here's Aiken to Souness. Cooper. Well, McAvennie didn't make the run. And there's only, well, about a minute and a half left. I think Ben got his foot in, but he should have followed that up. Paticus. Savannah tackle, Willie Miller. Free kick. Referee doing nothing about that. Or is he? Yes, he's booking. Ken Murphy is booked for this tackle coming up now. Yes, and deserved it too. Billy.
Yeah, well, I noticed in one of the newspapers this morning, actually, they've got one or two players on one caution and possibly missed the second game. I'm not sure if he's one of them. I think the big centre-back certainly is.
Almost coming off there. Paticus, there was a bit of pushing. Mitchell striding forward. Here's Souness. Nickel. Aiken. Sharp. Free kick. Quickly taken. Oh, McAvennie running into trouble. Just get the impression they've run out of ideas at the moment, Scotland. And they look now as if they're extremely relieved it's 2-0. When at one stage it might have been much worse. And that is the end of the game. Well, the game would run a whimper through close. Hardly heard the whistle, took the players by surprise, but that was the final score you saw there, and Frank McAvennie's goal gives Scotland a considerable chance of getting to Mexico, but still not as clean as they would like. Certainly, looking back on some of the incidents in this game, you could say that they ought to have scored many more goals, but as we'd say, back to Chills at one a ding, it's 2-0. It's a very long journey away down there, and they will be very athletic and fit and tough, as we've just seen. And that man there, Frank Garrett, looking taciturn, but maybe not too dissatisfied. Billy?
Well, I think they can be satisfied in a lot of ways, Archie. It wasn't a sparkling performance by Scotland, and obviously we've got to give credit to the way the Australians battled it, in particular at the back. They allowed us few good clean-cut chances, and it took a real inspirational free kick to open the scoring for us. The second goal again was something exceptional. Delightful flick from Ken Dalglish, and when Frank McAvennie got onto it, it wasn't an easy thing to steer it into the net, but he kept his head and lifted it past the goalkeeper. I felt it was a terrific piece of top-class, international-class finishing. Having said that, it wasn't a great performance by Scotland, but nevertheless, I don't suppose we could have expected an awful lot, considering the way Australia had elected to play.
And there, the crowd winding their way home. I think many of them expected a more emphatic victory than that. But in global football, when you're aiming for the World Cup, you'll come across teams who, as we've said, have learned a lot in the past couple of decades. And of course, Australia were in the World Cup in 1974. They did play extremely well against both West Germany and East Germany and beat Chile. So, you know, they've had an experience, they've come on, they've got a very intelligent manager and a tough manager. So I think using that word tough is going to be an extremely tough proposition for Scotland as they take that long journey to the Antipodes. Not in the Antipodes, but in the Glasgow studio is Dougie Donnelly with Billy Bingham.
And I'm sure, like everyone at home, not quite sure whether to start celebrating or not, Archie. Billy, are we in Mexico along with you or not?
Not exactly, but I said in my earlier remarks that I thought 2 goals or more. You've got 2 goals. It's going to take, you know, Australia to play a little bit better than that to break the Scottish defence down. And I think if they do play an open game in Australia, which they'll have to now, then I think there'll be more opportunities for Scotland to score goals.
I think we'll probably take more comfort from that, Billy, than from the Scottish performance, which was disappointing, I think, over the piece. We were hoping to play better and score more goals.
I wouldn't say it was disappointing. I thought that if a team puts out a very defensive situation with a sweeper, it's easy to sit and criticise and say, well, they should do this and they should do that. But there's bodies in the road all the time, and it makes it very, very difficult for players to break it down. Scotland broke it down on a number of occasions and were unlucky not to score. We said earlier, with the quality of crosses, perhaps that was one of the reasons they didn't. But they took advantage of a free kick, as Billy McNeill has just said. And I thought the goalkeeper actually didn't cover the part of the goal that was... The line-up was covering part of the goal that he had said all right on the left side, but he'd left a gap on the right side, and Cooper...
Took full advantage.
Took full advantage and put it away, and it was a smashing free kick. And
Let's
it just gives Scotland a
Billy,
lift.
because thank goodness it broke the deadlock and Scotland badly needing the goal. It came relatively early on in that second half, and Kenny Dalglish once again instrumental in setting up the chance. Frank McAvennie, who will no doubt see a little later, getting that vital second goal at the free kick, and in a position in which Davie Cooper is absolutely in his element. Here's the quite subtle body check there. I thought the referee had a good game, Billy, and did well to spot that.
I thought the referee was excellent. He didn't miss much, and that was a body check that was going to stop Frank McAvennie scoring maybe another goal there.
Absolutely. And here is the...
Look at the free kick. Just look at the goalkeepers lined up. Watch this line-up.
We'll see it from the other angle in the second time round, which might give us a better idea.
The wall's covering the left side of the goal, presumably. Right. Look where the goalkeeper is. Look, he's too central in the goal.
He should have been towards
That's
that
right,
corner.
to the right side, yes.
That's the whole point of setting up a defensive wall, after all, isn't it? To give you
right.
coverage of the whole of the goal area.
Yeah.
There's the celebrations on the terracing. Let's see it from the other angle then, and see just Billy Bingham's point about to the goal nut. I was seeing it from the original angle firstly. No doubt Cook can take.
Look where the goalkeeper is.
Position.
Look, see, he was in a bad position relative to that free kick. He should have been slightly over to the right.
Left that corner unguarded. As I said, I wonder just where Australia are going to pose the problems for us in Melbourne. As you said, they've got to come out, and apart from the strong running of Mitchell and a power in there we didn't really see tonight, I can't see anything really to worry us. There didn't seem to be players there that would turn.
The only thing is, in a home game, people have a wee bit more going for them,
sure.
And a home crowd can support them. We didn't see much of Cosmina, for example, who's a better player than what you saw tonight. I thought Murphy showed good bits from midfield towards the latter stages of the game. But I really think Scotland have no worries, providing they keep it tight, don't take any risks, don't give any silly penalties away, because that would make it 2-1 if you give a penalty away.
That's it.
Keep it cool, and at the same time, if Australia want to attack Scotland, then there'll be more opportunities for Scotland to make goals.
And get in round the back.
That's right.
Let's see that second goal then, Billy. It came from Frank McAvennie, who'd had a very good international debut indeed. Here's Dalglish again, turning and twisting in that fashion we know so well.
Yes.
Forcing the good save out of the keeper. Kenny, as always, not looking happy. He always gets the impression from Kenny, he expects to score every time he shoots. And you actually thought that you might only get 15 minutes or so in that second half, Billy, didn't you?
I did, because he'd put so much into the first half, and he takes so much stick, Kenny, with his body check all the time with the Australian defenders, that he was visibly tiring. And I felt that Alec might have even taken him off 5 or 10 minutes sooner.
That's right, but he stayed on, and it was his header which set up that chance for McAvennie, and that's the class of finishing which every international team in the world is looking for, I suppose, isn't it?
Young McAvennie was refreshing. He was lively. He was dangerous. He did the simple things well. He made a few little errors here and there with his control, but overall I think he'd be very pleased with his debut. He did very well. He put that goal away with real class, and I think he had a marvellous debut.
Looking ahead to Mexico, and let's for goodness sake take nothing for granted, but assuming that we do get to Mexico, do you see Dalglish and McAvennie being Scotland's main strike force?
Well, I think Kenny will be used sparingly. I think Kenny will be used in bits and pieces, because I think they have to think of another striker besides Kenny to play with McAvennie. And there's a number of players there who will be competing for that position. I think I would use Kenny for parts of games, certainly, and I'm sure Alec will be thinking that way too.
Let's look ahead to Melbourne then, as a man who knows the scene out there fairly well, Billy. We're going from a wet and cold Scottish winter to temperatures of what, mid-80s, something like that in Melbourne and their summertime. Not really that bad for Scotland, I would think. The conditions shouldn't be getting
No, I
against
think
us that
it'll
much.
be around about 80 degrees. My team has played in Melbourne. It is a soccer pitch anyway, which is a good pitch. I think Scotland will have maybe about 20,000 supporters there, because I met a lot of Scotsmen in Melbourne, and I'm sure they'll be rooting for the team, and that'll give the team heart. And the 2-goal cushion, I think, will be enough to take Scotland through to Mexico.
Right, so we're halfway to the travel agency to book the trip to Mexico, but
I
not
think I would
quite
be-
paying the deposit yet.
I think I'd be booking the ticket.
There's a confident man. Billy, thanks for watching the game with us tonight, and nice to end on that confident note that you really do think we'll be with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here and to say that, well, England, Northern Ireland, and hopefully Scotland will be representing the UK in the World Cup in Mexico. That's marvellous for the three of us.
Right, a very nice thought. Billy, been a pleasure having you with us. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. 2 good Wednesday nights in a row for you with your own match last week. And there we are, the end of European sports scene, which provided a few anxious moments for us. Not quite a vintage performance. We're not congratulating ourselves just yet, but we're quietly confident from all of us here. Goodbye.